passionate about Cleveland sports.
He's going in, touchdown!
Browns, Indians, Cavs, the Big Ten, and more.
Cleveland is a city of champions once again!
Andy and Jarid, Cleveland and beyond.
Swinging it right! To deep right!
Here are your hosts, Andy Billman and Jared Plotson.
Oh, everybody. I'm depressed. Andy's probably depressed. This is Andy and Jared, Cleveland and beyond. And we're going to recap this absolutely atrocious display from the Indians in the ALDS against the Astros that ended far too soon, in my opinion, and I'm sure Andy's as well. Thank God for a Browns win over the weekend, so we can talk about that and some of the stuff to look forward to. But first, here's Skipper Terry Francona, courtesy of Fox Sports, following their loss.
Is all we wanted to do today was keep it going so we could play tomorrow. You know, we got to go home now before we're ready to. That hurts. It always stings. You know, and I just told the guys, we got a number of guys that are free agents. You know, there's going to be some turnover, and it's a real special group to all of us. So that's a hard one to, you know, when you're saying goodbye before you're ready to. I mean, I'm glad we've had a chance. And if you keep giving yourself a chance, at some point you believe you'll break through. We haven't been good enough to this point. Nobody's going to quit trying to get better. But, you know, I mean, it is frustrating for sure. I think there's a lot of teams that would like to be in this situation. But when you come up short, you take stock and try to do better.
Man, do you know how hard it was for me, Andy, to even bother listening to the rest of that game? And then I had to class tonight, and I ended up streaming some of it, and then I just kind of followed along the last 3 outs, and it was just, you could even hear, I was listening to the radio call, and Hammy was getting aggravated who was behind the plate tonight? It aggravated at the way he was calling balls and strikes. You couldn't tell what the call was, so he's
yeah.
You know, everyone's frustrated is the point. Everyone is disappointed in the display, but we can't say that we haven't seen these types of things from the Indians this season. And the way that I looked at it is all of the worst parts of the Indians came together and were on triumphant display over 3 games, 2 in Houston and 1 in Cleveland. What a letdown.
Yeah, I think this was the term faceplant gets overused, but faceplant is very appropriate here. It's a faceplant. I mean, you kind of hit it up on the parts. I mean, I'm going to take it from one big giant thought of, I think 2016 was such a great magic carpet ride, even with the loss in Game 7 to the Cubs. Mm-hmm. That has stretched over 2017 with the winning streak and, maybe people, and myself included, hey, it was a fluky thing. What happened to the Yankees? And they were up 2-0, and that won't ever happen again. And I think that carpet ride didn't really sail throughout, but I think that was still an aura. I think that was in the air. And I think sometimes when those things are in the air, sometimes you have to really smack to really get it out of you. And the Indians, you kind of teed it up. The Indians just had a terrible series. It does not take much to anybody break it down. Sure, all the Indians will feel the same way. And it just finally imploded like a balloon right in the middle of that game there with the later innings. The bigger thing here that I just think that people are going to really break down, which we'll talk about here today, is the scapegoats, right? Who's at fault and who's
everyone's looking for them.
And everybody should. I mean, it's one of those things you want to know, why didn't this work out? Why didn't this carry over? I mean, I was certainly one of the people, along with, Kenny Rosenthal and some of the others who chose the Indians to win it all. I really believe that. And boy, was I mistaken. Going to today's game first, and we'll kind of go backwards. I mean, really the bigger story here, Yandy Diaz started, had some changes, Geyer started, but really Clevenger pitched well, got us through, the first 2/3 of the game. And then really in the 6th inning, you could really start seeing things kind of unravel a little bit.
Bauer some got control issues too. That was surprising out of Clevenger, who, doesn't walk all that often, that many people.
Clevenger really did a nice job, but he labored through 5 2/3, I think it was. It was not – he did a nice job. I don't want to take anything away. The Astros are really tough, but Clevenger really had to use everything he had to get through that game today. And, he only gave up 1 run. And at the time when Frankie's hit, it looked like it looked like the Indians, you weren't thinking you were going to win, but you at least were having a shot. But you could tell a little bit in the 6th inning with Bauer. He gets out of it, figures things out. But even then, you're like, okay, maybe that was the inning we needed it. And now with the Frankie home run the inning before, and with Bauer on the mound, here we go. And then the defense really showed its head. I thought the defense really kind of triggered today's events. Just a bad throwing the ball around and all on Bauer. And Bauer's usually a pretty good glove.
Yeah, Bauer's had he's a great fielding pitcher, and did he have 2 errors today?
2 errors, 1 inning,
and he's had a total of 5 in the playoffs in postseason baseball, I believe, as well.
Yep. And I mean, when you can't give extra outs out, and from there we don't need to break it down. The one thing I'll take away from this: every time the Astros had something to hit that was a mistake, they hit it hard. I mean, it just wasn't just like a single; it was a home run in the far seats. They really pounded the ball in the series, especially Bregman and certainly Springer today.
8 total home runs in 3 games, and only one of those was the cherry on the top, that 3-run shot. The rest of them were solo shots. Yeah.
So going back to Bauer in a second, he did not have one of his better playoffs series. Obviously, he just really struggled. Whether that's because of arm length, meaning did he get enough time to stretch out his arm after he got injured? Was it because of the bullpen situation? Look, people can go back and forth. It didn't work. I mean, at the end of the day, it didn't work. It didn't work in game 1. Right. It didn't work in game 2. It didn't work in game 3. There's 3 opportunities to see this Bauer experiment. It just didn't work out. So that just failed. Cody Allen, which I did see improvement at the end of the year, he did not have another great day on the mound. He really struggled. I thought Miller had one good at bat. I thought he had a weird appearance at what maybe Hammy was talking about, so I wasn't listening to him. Miller kind of had a weird at bat with the next batter, and that really just kind of opened it up. But again, it didn't matter. You could feel the floodgates coming in.
Well, it felt weird too when you talk about Bauer in the pen. Then they were also it's unsettling to hear the comments prior to the game, which were, if we don't use Bauer today, we're going to start him game 4. And hearing those comments go around and make that doesn't feel. That doesn't give you the warm and fuzzy, just the idea of the whole thing. Well, if we can avoid using them today, like, you're not going to avoid using them today because it takes everything that you've got to win today. And that was their plan. And if it didn't work, well, it didn't work, and it blew up in their faces.
Yeah, I mean, the defense, again, really lacked in Bauer. And again, the Bauer experiment on the bullpen did not work. I'm not saying that was a crazy idea, because I think part of it had to do with his injury that happened in September and him coming back into pitch. So it failed. It failed all the way around. And then to get to the glaring half, and we'll talk about this more as we wrap up the series about the bats. Again today, Kipnis finally got a hit. Donaldson did nothing. I love Jose Ramirez. He's one of my favorite Indians, but boy, did he have and he knows it, no hits again in this series. That's going to really hang with that poor kid all year, and it should. He's got to step up in these situations. He's a 3-hitter. He just never got anything going in the series. I mean, nothing. I mean, hit, pop, flies, just.
Well, no, you're
really
talking about Lindor, Brantley, Ramirez, Encarnacion, and Donaldson hit for a combined 8 for 51 with 13 strikeouts and a whopping 157 batting average. That is awful. And we talked about it prior to the series. If they didn't show up, you're not going to be able to hang with a team that can hit like the Astros.
Yeah, I'll take Lindor out of it. I think Lindor ended up hitting like 300 for the series. So I thought Lindor actually had a pretty good series towards the end. He had a hit in game 2, and he had several hits today. I thought Lindor actually played pretty well. I'm not going to get too much on him. But Ramirez, yes. Donaldson, yes. Edwin and Encarnacion, yes. None of those guys hit. And, they're going to have to talk about that next year. Brantley's not coming back probably. So we saw his farewell. And Brantley didn't really play that great, to be honest with you, either.
No.
So it isn't like – I mean, the bigger thing is going into next year, and I really want to hit Kluber and Bauer and a couple more other things. Going into next year, there's going to be some changes now. So I think 2016 is finally dead. 16 tonight, finally dead. That was dreams and hopes and positivity. I think it had to end tonight.
It's not a complete teardown, but it's definitely, and it goes back to, I think, Andy, they need to find an identity. And I think they lost that from 2016.
Yes.
They have struggled to find their identity and who they are. And they had There was no one taking charge. There was no leader. It was, I don't know. I don't know what to do with my hands is what it was. A bunch of Will Ferrell going on with the team.
Yeah, the one thing that I gave the Indians too much credit for, I thought they were being clever, and they weren't. They were actually hiding deficits. That's what I learned in this series. I thought, I like everybody else, I'm like, oh, they're being clever. Move Kipnis to the outfield. Put Donaldson at third. And what that was really covering up is we're a hitter short. And we're hoping Donaldson does it. And by the way, none of it happened. Donaldson, Ramirez, or Kipnis didn't hit. There was a lot of things that they were hiding throughout these last few years. And the bullpen especially, they had no idea what this was going to be this year. But Andrew Miller had a couple good at-bats tonight. He hasn't been the same.
No.
I mean, he really – and he's not – I doubt –
He knows it.
He knows it. I doubt he's coming back. And again, I want to reference this in some positive ways. Michael Brantley was a fantastic Indian.
Yeah.
Had some really big moments. Would not have gone here without him this year.
And it was great to have him healthy.
Yes.
It really was.
Andrew Miller in 2016, I will never forget. The Miller time, that trade, the excitement of him coming out of the bullpen. He was tremendous in 16. And Cody Allen was great in the World Series. I will never forget those moments. With that said, Miller and Allen had those days in 16, and boy, they looked not 2, but 5 years older this year.
Right.
They just did not play well in big spots really all year, and it really reared its ugly head. The one thing that I want to get back to now that I thought really set the tone for the series is Corey Kluber starting game 1. Because in game 1, the game was going along, and even with him hitting some batters in the second inning, it was 0-0 in the fourth.
Yeah.
So you're feeling pretty good. You can feel it's a pitcher's duel, and I really thought Kluber starts set the tone for the series. It really unraveled, and I never felt good about the series since the fourth inning when he gave up that home run. And that's sad to say, but it's true.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that I do want to give Kluber credit for is his 16 starts. I've heard a lot of people today saying, oh, he's not a big game pitcher. Well, that's not true. In 2016, Kluber was fantastic in the playoffs. He beat the Red Sox, the Blue Jays, and he won 2 games, not 1, 2 games in the World Series that year in 16. But again, the official motto is 16's dead, right? Well, 16's dead. 17 was not good for Kluber,
right.
And this year was even worse. Right. It's not fair, but it's the truth. He is the ace of this staff at the end of the day, and you have to lean on your ace. And Jarid, he did not play like an ace this year or last year. And in that spot, you can't do what he did in that spot. He struggled. And not only struggled, I thought the emotion and the air out of the balloon just that early in this series. And the Indians really never got it back.
Nope.
I'm not saying you have to win every start, but he got shelled in that start in game 1 against Houston. And it really the Indians just never got it back in stride since that start. So Kluber, I really thought set the tone in game 1, and it really never came back. And that's something else the Indians are going to have to contemplate going into the future. Kluber has to be on this team. That's not the question here.
Right.
The question here is, do we need to maybe add a starter to get that next hump? And that's something we can get into a little bit tonight if you want, but I don't know.
Yeah.
And I would never thought I would say something like that, but I'm actually starting to wonder, are we a starter short of winning it all?
I wonder where would we even go for that? I haven't even looked into free agency or where anyone. I have no idea. I honestly don't.
But I think that's in play. I really think that's in play because these starters and what's going on in the bullpen is not cutting it.
No, the bullpen, I mean, you're talking about from the 6th inning on, that team outscored the Indians. It's disgusting. The Tribe's bullpen was over 14
awful.
ERA. I mean, it was atrocious. Brad Hand, Bauer,
they all had it.
It didn't matter. It did not matter. They got tagged. They got tagged hard, and that's the thing too. Is the Astros? You can hang. The Indians were able to keep things interesting through the 5th inning of these games for the most part, and then all of a sudden the Astros just said, "Yeah, we're done playing around with this. Thanks for taking your starter out, and let's start swinging away on the bullpen," and they really did.
And that's why I bring up the starter because I don't know if you have the money or the parts to get all these bullpen pieces. I just don't know if I don't know if that's capable, but maybe a trade or two to get a starter in there is possible, or bullpen. They have to do something. The roles of Kluber again has to be on this team. I want to mention that again for people who don't think so. You're wrong. He has to be on this team, and he has to play a major role for the Indians to win. But Kluber and Carrasco pitched fine. I think Clevenger's on his way. I still think they're a starter or at least 2 or 3 bullpen pieces short.
Well, do we look at Bieber still?
Again, he's a rookie. You can put him in there and it's fine. But if you're going to win big games next year in the playoffs, this is not the starters, nor what I'm seeing from the bullpen. Even if you add a couple things, it's not going to cut it.
Might cut it in the Central, but that's about it.
That's a different story.
Right.
And again, this is something that I'm going to harp on next year. The Kluber factor is now in play, meaning I don't know what he's going to do in the playoffs now. I hate saying it. I don't know.
How can you?
Right. And so, the one thing I won't deny is Kluber now in a big spot scares me. Jared, that's a problem.
Is that a product of just having him as starting game one? I mean, you talk about it needing him out on the squad. Maybe he doesn't need the pressure of starting a game one. I don't know, because I wasn't confident in him starting this game one. I wasn't. In the pit of my stomach, I could feel it.
Well, we talked about it on this podcast, and we said this is a big start, not for his overall legacy, but for the memories of Tribe fans.
Right.
Because I knew this would happen if he were to lose, that people would forget 16. So I want to bring up 16 to say he did have some strong playoff starts. We would not have gone through 16 without Kluber.
Right.
But it's fair to say it's now an issue and a problem when you're in the playoffs. Because it makes you nervous wreck, and I feel the same way now. And honestly, I don't think Bauer's the guy either. I don't.
No.
I don't think Bauer's the big starter next year either. I just don't. I don't think but they're going to have to really figure out, not the regular season, the postseason. Are you going to go out and do what the Yankees did and overload on your bullpen and get Robertson and Robertson? Now that my mind's blanking on the other guys for the Yankees, and of course, as I watch them play. But anyways, you get the picture. Britton. You get Zach Britton, you overpay to get big relievers in there. So that way, in case a reliever is having a shaky night, Chad Green can just switch on for Robinson pretty easily.
Well, not only that, but you're going to give rest to your starters because you only need 5 or 6 out of them through the season, and they won't be, the expectations of going at least 7 because you can't trust anyone out of the pen. Or even if you can't trust 1 or 2 out of the pen, that still makes you nervous because you're playing Russian roulette with whoever comes out after you pull your starter.
So the bigger thing I have for this is Bauer. I don't know what to say. It was all over the place. Hard to evaluate him, but because of that, I don't know if I can trust him in a big spot in the playoffs yet. Kluber, 16 is now passed. I don't know if you can trust him in a big spot now either. I don't think he can.
No, he's got to find himself. He's got to redefine himself a little bit too. Yeah,
he does. The bullpen's going to go after a major reshaking, and then again to the bats real quick. Edwin. The obvious names. Edwin's going to be back. He's going to have to play better. I thought Lindor redeemed himself a little bit today. I thought he actually had some big. The home run was big. I'm going to pump the brakes on Lindor's. I thought he had a good day today, and he got a hit in game 2. So I'm not going to pump him as much. But Ramirez, love you. You're my favorite player. I wear your T-shirt. Got to do better than this, man. Sorry. Got to do better in these kind of big spots. Is Yandy Diaz, who had a great double today, is he the next guy coming on? Yonder Alonso struggled. I like him, good guy. I'm kind of tired of the Brandon Guyer stuff.
No, and those moves today, I believe, Keuchel's a lefty. Am I losing my mind on that? Those were standard moves to have those guys out there today.
Even then, Guyer, thank you for 2016. Goodbye. Roger Davis, thank you for 2016. Goodbye.
Yeah.
You want to talk about a guy who's got a big year ahead of him, and he's not right now around, but Bradley Zimmer, it's a big year.
Well, what about Tyler Naquin, too? I mean, is he going to be mature this season, mature enough to calm his bat down? Yeah. He looks like a kid on ADHD medication sometimes, or not taking his medication in that batter's box. He needs to chill. He's a sucker for pitches that are out of the zone, especially pitches up. And I don't know whether him, not playing a lot this season and dealing with the injury I don't know if you can expect anything different next season from him. It's at least, what are you going to get?
I don't know. Jan Gomes ended the year strong. I thought actually he didn't have a horrible series.
Right.
So I'll give him a pass here. Roberto Perez, another one. I don't know how much longer. He really struggled this year, so I don't know how much longer I can go with him. I know he's Bauer's guy. So all in all, what we're kind of alluding to is big changes. Brantley, probably not coming back. Miller or Allen, I would be very surprised if either one of those guys come back.
Right.
And even if they did, I don't know if they're the same players we talked about in 16. So those are major changes. And again, who is the true ace in the playoffs? I don't know.
The only thing I could think of was Carrasco. Can you say Carrasco looked better than I?
He's a good 2. And that's a good compliment. He's a great 2. Clevenger's a good 3. Who is your real big set-the-tone pitcher in Game 1? I don't know if it's Corey Kluber anymore.
Who the hell knew it was going to be Verlander for the Astros? You want to talk about a game that I thought the Indians were gonna tag someone?
I don't know.
That's a guy that has a history of getting batted around by the Indians, and he's like reborn.
I know. I would say for everything that I saw this year, the biggest thing I'm surprised about is Kluber, what he did in Game 1. I was stunned, only because I knew what he did in 16, and I thought he would never do that again. But I do think a little bit of this is mental, and I do think the Indians will be back next year because they have the talent and the team around them to do it. And I think it's going to be interesting to see what he does. The other thing, too, real quick, and then I do want to touch on the Astros fast, is, for people who think he can fire Francona, well, you won't hear that from me. The guy's a great manager.
Oh, no.
He did have a tough series, but I'll be truthful with you. I think anybody would have had a tough series. Any string he pulled was just like, it wasn't just like fail. It was like fail safe, and the village was on fire.
Oh, and you got to remember who you're going up against, the defending World Series champions.
Yes.
And
yes.
Tito knows that. And
yes.
In my opinion, I don't know that he might end up retiring after a year or two. I mean, I don't know how much left he's even got in the tank. I'm
on the flip side. I think he's got stuff to go.
Yeah.
I saw a guy today who was calmly mad. I did not see a guy who was, sitting there going, well, we tried our best, and, dumb gummit. It just didn't work out today. I saw a guy who was pretty fired up at the end of the game. So again, I don't fire Francona. He's the guy. He's a good manager. I actually think for everything you can say in this series, Francona's the one I would pull the lever last. I don't know what you would have done in games 1 and 3 differently. And I mean that. It's like nothing worked. Nothing worked.
No, again, it comes down to identity. Those guys could not find their identity.
Kluber didn't set the tone.
Mm-mm.
You had to rely on Bauer because everybody else stunk in the bullpen this year. And then what the hell are you going to do after that? I mean, there comes a point you can do whatever you want.
I felt like if these guys can't hit Keuchel, they're not going to be able to hit anybody.
Jose Ramirez and Edwin Encarnacion 3 and 4 were soft, and Donaldson 5. But Donaldson's not coming back, so you can figure that out. But for this series, 3, 4, and 5 for the Indians was atrocious. It was awful. It wasn't even like close. There was never a moment. You were texting me about Edwin. Edwin was terrible too. Love these guys.
Yes, Donaldson, absolutely love them. I'm not going to sit here and hate on them, but they'd agree. They'd agree with everything that we're saying right now.
You have to. Jose Ramirez, Corey Kluber. What a big offseason you have. And guess what? You have to prove everything in October next year. That's what makes it so strange. Because I think this is the first year, and this is kind of what happened with the Yankees in the past in the 90s.
Yeah.
Hey, all these awards are great. You're going to go to the All-Star game,
yeah.
19 winner, 30-30. That's awesome.
Yeah, 200 strikeouts.
October.
All of it.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
October. And those two guys are going to be put on notice. And I'll be honest, I think Bauer will be put on notice. I think Bauer
might be on notice before Kluber, but I don't know. I think fans would put Kluber on notice before Bauer, but I think that personally, I would have to put Bauer on notice before Kluber.
Bauer had a strange 2016 with the drone. He had one good start in 17. His second start, I don't know how you rate that, because they pushed him up a game. But again, I think these are all the decisions that come. Again, with Houston, I just want to touch upon it quickly. I don't want to say too much. They hammered every mistake out. I've never seen a team like this where, even with the deathly Yankees in the 90s, they didn't do what they were doing. I mean, Springer, gone.
Yeah.
I mean, not just like, some of those shots were just bombs out of here.
They were either bombs or they were ropes that got out quick.
My God.
Quick.
the other thing I noticed too, I know Bauer said some stuff, and I thought the Clevenger saw was fine. You're supposed to say things like that.
I didn't even hear what Clevenger said.
Clevenger said earlier in the year that the Astros weren't that special of a team, and I know that's not the greatest thing to say, and you shouldn't say that, but I thought they ran with that a little too hard. But Bauer really knocked the Astros with some comments he said, and he printed them on Twitter, so I think that kind of got him burned. But the Astros, whatever they can say, they're cocky. They have a right to be cocky.
Yeah.
They're good. They're fun. They slap things in the face. And look, I can't stand them as an Indians fan.
Well, that's the funny thing is they're not a team that's easy to hate like the Yankees, yet somehow that makes me hate them even more right now. I want to have reasons to hate them.
Yeah. Give me a tough ALCS since I can't stand the Red Sox or Yankees either. So I really don't care. Maybe everybody will just tie and forfeit and the Brewers will win.
Do it Brown style.
No, seriously. I will be pulling hard for the Brewers, by the way. You don't have to ask me what I'll be pulling for. But that's the Astros. And again, the bigger things in the series, Kluber game 1 tone was terrible. That really did carry over from 17. That's going to be interesting. The Bauer situation, the whole thing was a failure. Whether it was his injury and he had to come out of the bullpen, the whole thing stunk. If they pull that next year, Jared, you don't have to ask me. Like, I don't like it. Don't do it. He's a starter. Period. End of sentence.
Yep.
That guy's a starter. Period. End of sentence. And next year for Ramirez and Edwin Encarnacion, great what you do during the regular season. Kluber and Bauer, great what you do in the regular season. What do you do in the playoffs is the biggest thing. And then things you can't see behind the periphery. What happens to Zimmer? Tyler Naquin, as you mentioned, those are going to be big years for those guys. And then finally, what I think is the overall theme.
Before I forget, Leonis Martin as well, or Martin. Where's that going?
Sounds like, though, he's really got something where he may not even come back and play.
Oh, so okay. Wow. I didn't even realize that because I knew what he went through. I thought he was doing a lot better. I saw him he was on Twitter the other day, which I just took that as he's good to go. But wow,
I think he's better as his health is better. Like he's going to be okay. But I've been hearing from people this could be something where he may not come back. It's going to be debatable. No, I mean it is what it is. I mean, look,
you just want him to be healthy.
You just want to be healthy. So the Indians have a lot to do next year. And again, my overall theme is 2016 died tonight. On October 8th, Columbus Day, 2016 died. There's no more feel good for that. It was a great run. That you're going to see a big turning of the page next year from that. I just don't think you're going to see that. You kind of alluded to it. I think what's good. The other big thing to watch is will Lindor take the reins of this team?
Yeah,
I think he should.
I absolutely think it's time for that.
Yeah. And what are they going to really do with all these little tinkering parts? Can they get a full outfield? All that to come. But at the end of the day, it hurt. It's not. I don't think it. I don't. What just stunned me again is how quickly that series felt like it ended after game 1. I just never felt again those home runs. It just set the tone with Kluber in game 1.
Friday and Saturday ruined my weekend. You saw. I was bitter. My wife thought it was hilarious. It was cathartic for me to throw fits during the Browns game because I thought to myself, how am I even going to get through after this Indians game 1 and game 2? I needed a Browns win. I needed something. I was going to lose my damn mind. And sure enough, even a Browns win wasn't good enough to make it's a victory Monday, but it feels like a garbage Monday. It feels awful.
A funeral. I guess the way I'll end it is I was with a friend out on Friday. He goes, because I've been with you after Indians losses in the playoffs before in the 90s, and you never get this low. I'm like, that felt different today. I just did not like it's only one game. Maybe you turn the picture, but the Indians I hate saying it, they just were never in that series. That's so hard for me to say, but they just weren't.
21-6, that series. They were outscored. 21-6. That says it all. That right there is your answer.
Cleveland Browns.
And then you turn the page to the Browns. And what was a wonderful I'm just going to do a quick turn.
It was so much fun.
Let's just turn that.
Yeah, let's be done with it. Let's be done with it. Let's wash it. Let's exorcise the demons and be done with it.
Like a good toilet flush.
Yes.
Let's just do a double flusher and get on to the Browns and Ravens. And then we had a wonderful event on Sunday. These games, I just want to do an overall picture, then we should get in the game.
Yeah.
These games are great. It's getting picked up not just locally, but nationally.
Oh, yeah. Jim Rome, America's team, the Browns.
It's amazing. This team is really picking up a lot of energy and all that. This is the third overtime game this year. 2 of them went right down the final seconds. Obviously, one ended in a tie with the Steelers. These games are just unbelievable. But what a great, exciting, thrilling game. You don't say these words unless you win, but the Browns did win. Thankfully, it looked like at times that was questionable, but what a gutty performance. And I'll lead off with this. Kudos to the defense that really set the tone throughout the whole day.
Bend, don't break.
Bend and don't break. And, I want to give this guy his due before we get to Mayfield. Denzel Ward is a star.
Yep.
He is a star. Just a star. I would have been so impressed by him. He is really the first cornerback that I've seen on the Browns. I know we had Minifield and Dixon, and those 2 guys were wonderful, but they're more of a tandem. This guy really just plays all over the field, and you can feel his presence on the field. It's interesting. I think he's actually, in a way, he might be better than Myles Garrett. And I can't believe I'm saying that, but I'm starting to already get that vibe. It's like, You know
what it was for me on Sunday? That you want to talk about Taylor, like just the perfect timing. Red zone, interception, Denzel Ward. Right there, that was it. That solidified it for me. This dude, he cut in front of that ball. It was just timed perfectly the way that he took that ball away, and the kid, and he blocked the field goal as well, didn't he?
Yes, he did. He had an unbelievable day. He got after the Agbo tip, he intercepted the ball, which you were alluding to was a big play.
Yep.
He had the block kick, which is a big play. He just felt his presence throughout the game. Even when he wasn't making plays, I think he had 1 missed tackle was the only time I really saw something where I was like,
the whole team did have struggles with some missed tackles. That was something that stood out to me. No,
they did. And by the way, I think I'm starting to go along that way. Like, that's going to be part of it.
Yep.
The one thing that the Browns kind of got lucky with, I thought, if the Ravens would have run the ball more, I think that would have been a little different of a result. But they didn't. For whatever reason, they chose not to. And when the Ravens went back to the running game late, the Browns defense did stand up and really shut it down.
Yep.
So in fairness, later in the game when they started going back to it, the defense wasn't having anything a part of it. The other flip thing is Baker Mayfield, who had the biggest drive of the end of the second quarter, because the Browns really needed something, and he gave them so much momentum. And then, of course, we had the missed extra point, which we'll get to. But, great job by Baker. I really love that drive. I thought that said a lot about him, it's almost like he knew, like, hey, it's 3-0. We got to do something. We got to get this thing.
He is not afraid of the moment.
Yes.
He is unshakable in the moment.
Yes, and he did a nice job on that drive. Duke Johnson played well in this game, too. You were kind of mentioning him in the last podcast. Yep. Well, Duke Johnson had a lot of plays in this game. They obviously listened to our podcast because he had a lot of clearly he had a lot of big plays. You felt his presence.
He did. No, absolutely.
First time all year, you felt Duke Johnson's presence in the game.
Yeah, he averaged. I mean, he was 7 yards per carry. Yep, 5. I mean, the whole team, they rushed for more than 100 yards, so that was nice. Carlos Hyde was a great workhorse.
Yes.
Nick Chubb kind of disappeared this week, but that's fine. He didn't get many carries, but it just wasn't there for him. You know what though? David Njoku, at moments, if he can get a little more consistent, I know you're not a fan, but you're at a point now with the injury, to Higgins where he might end up sliding into the slot a little bit. They need Njoku to catch the ball, in the next couple of weeks. But I got you, though. I mean, we had 2 other tight ends make receptions during the game.
Here's Njoku for me in a real quick line. He's either on or off.
Yeah.
When he's on, he will have a drop or 2, but he'll make plays. And then there's other games where it's all downhill, and he can't even throw the ball in the ocean. Like, he just can't. Nothing's going to go his way. But he did have a good game.
Yep.
Schobert had another nice play in this game.
He did.
I thought he's. I'll tell you, that's another guy. Every game he gets better. But to go back to Mayfield, that was a real gut check. The Steelers defense, so. Saints defense, not really. Jets, their defense is okay. Raiders didn't have really good defense. So this is the first, I'd say, legit good defense that Mayfield's faced.
Yeah.
And I thought he gutted it out. and I'll use that term a lot, gutted the game out. Didn't do anything to lose the game and made enough plays to win it.
The early turnover was fine. They shook it off, didn't carry it over, and the Browns defense, made the stop that they needed with that. Oh, absolutely, the entire game. Can I throw one disappointment in there that I just don't understand? It blew my mind, especially out of somebody 5 years in the league. Jarvis Landry, get out of bounds, brother. Yeah. Get out of bounds.
Well, yeah, I mean, here's the one thing I'll go on the Landry point, because I was going to bring that up too. I mean, Landry getting out of bounds. I think Landry at times, I love his energy and I love his spirit. He chirps a little too much for me during the game. I'd rather see him do his actions on the field, not his actions with words during the game. He's too good of a player for that. And I think he got caught up into it because when you watched it, he wanted to hit on that play. It's like, no. That's not, I mean, it's so obvious. I mean, come on, you got to get out of bounds there. And he didn't.
Oh, he killed at least 10, 12 seconds off the clock with that. And we lost it down.
Kill momentum. Did everything wrong. Time, possession. Look, time, score, and possession. Just bad. I mean, look, if he considers himself a leader, which I think he does, and he should, you got to do better than that in that kind of play. That was a big play. The only other one, I mean, if you want to get into nickel and dime stuff here, I thought Callaway again had a strange game. He's a rookie, so you got to put that in the rookie category. But, more and more I watch with him, I'm interested to see how his season develops. Because he has moments too where he drops passes and he kind of disappears. And again, that was one of those games I didn't really feel his presence in the game. But again, he's a rookie, so I don't want to put too much judgment onto it. And Druko to me is a little more different, where I think he can be a little more criticizing on him. I thought the Browns did run the ball a lot, and that was good. The punting was great in this game.
Oh, yeah.
Colquitt, I guess, heard a lot of chirping from everybody in the press because he did a nice job in this game.
Jabril Peppers, maybe not. It's still the same when he's running back punts, but
I'll say okay. I'm just gonna, and I really mean that. He did okay. I'm not gonna say he did good.
Right.
I'm not gonna say he did bad. He did
okay, I think was surprising for people.
Again,
I said to you during the game, he was playing with a chip on his shoulder. Still average. You're right. There was nothing else that really stood out. Jamie Collins had a decent game as well, too.
Yep, I thought that. The offensive line, hit or miss at times. I still think they're learning how to play. One thing that I don't want to get too far off the rails on, but I think should be brought up are these penalties.
Ooh, that was brutal.
It
was lopsided. Baker wasn't happy about some of the calls either. Here he is, courtesy of the Cleveland Browns Facebook page.
Yeah, obviously very frustrated we didn't get a pass interference call when the guy pushed Jarvis out and they knocked him over. They said the ball was uncatchable, but that's because he was on the ground. So the people in the stripes can make a better call, I think. I'll see it and be able to look at it. But regardless, the best part about all of that was that the defense went out there, got another stop, and our offense didn't flinch when we went back out there. We went out there and did our job. So no matter what it is, good plays, bad plays, not getting calls or getting calls, we have to do our job every play. You forget what happened in the past and keep moving forward.
Yeah, it was lopsided. And by the way, I thought barely so at times. The Browns really did have some moments where they were making penalties, and if you're going to make a penalty, you're going to get called for it. But, the Browns have really got this disease of penalties. I do think at times, this was the first game I noticed, where I started towards the end going, really? Really? And I'm surprised. I try not to do that, but I did. I felt like at times the Browns were getting called on things, and I didn't see the same for the Ravens. So I think it's something to watch. I don't try to do that too much, but that's the first game I felt I was like, gosh, that I've seen that all day from the Ravens.
Is Myles Garrett getting good jumps, and just because his jump's so good, I can't see him on those. He got nailed twice for
the first one was yes
offsides, right?
Yeah, the first one was a yes. The second one, it's close.
Yeah,
it was close. The first one was offsides. The second one was close. He's got to work on that. I'll be truthful with you. He's playing well, but I thought Agba and the others are really getting the advantage of him. What's weird about Myles Garrett is his actual impact on the game may not be seen at times because he's being double teamed.
Oh, he is. Oh, he was. Well, even his half sack, I think, came while he was double teamed.
Right.
I think they had a running back the running back in the backfield doubled up on him, and he was able to. He didn't swim. He rolled out of that and got either the half sack or the sack that he got.
Yeah. So all that said, I thought this was the great win the Browns needed.
Oh, yeah.
They needed to be a division rival, needed to do it at home. Good to see this kind of win because you could tell the Ravens are a good team. I'm not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl, but this is a good team. And it felt like a good win. The one thing's, again, mismanagement of the clock, play call towards the goal line overtime as a terrible pitch call.
Do we know when the game's over, too, by the way, when we kick a field goal?
I saw that.
Now, I heard rumors, and the rumor was that it was the refs making that call, and Hugh just reacted to it. But there are other journalists in Cleveland that are getting on Hugh for holding up the two fingers. About 2
I
seconds
will
left.
say this. Everybody was confused, and I even paused it. I said, he still thinks the game's going on. The game's over.
I think I ignored him.
Yeah, but I will say I saw confusion from
Hugh.
everybody. So the bigger things to take about it is Baker Mayfield took the next step. Again, you have to win ugly. I thought he did the things to win ugly, and I would have said that even in a loss or a tie. I thought he really did a nice job against a tough team and gutted the game out.
Yeah.
Same thing with Denzel Ward. He made his presence felt in this game, and with what Myles Garrett, the attention he's getting, that defense is really starting to turn into one of those defenses you don't want to play that at any moment can make a big play. They might give up yardage, they might give us some stats, but boy, they are aggressive. For how much I might pick on them, but the run defense, they make a lot of plays, and they are clearly a strength of this team. Things, again, to improve on, Callaway and JUCO making more of those plays where you catch the ball, just catch the ball to be a little bit more nicer. I didn't see as much as I did on the Raider game, so I won't go too far. And again, mismanagement of clock. You talked about Landry. I thought that pitch play in overtime is another example of that. There's a couple of things too
Awful.
at the end of the game where they're running the ball. Duke Johnson, which I'm fine with, should have called timeout. I don't think they managed the clock well at the end of overtime. Those are the kind of things I think they need to clean up. The state of Hugh, as we like to call it on the show, I think is obviously good this week. I think he's cleared for the Charger game, meaning win or lose, everything's fine. But again, those kind of wins against the Ravens, that's what it means. It carries over. It brings goodwill to things. And the one thing that is clear, which we all kind of knew, but I think we can stamp it, the Browns are really starting to gain momentum.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that means it's going to be a playoff run, whether it's going to be just 6 or 7 wins, I don't know.
Right.
But you can feel the momentum while watching the games. I don't know how you felt, but you can feel the competitiveness in these games.
I just worry that there's two things that could take the momentum out of them. Mismanagement, again, that I think would involve Hugh. And somebody that runs parallel to that in my mind of who can stay or go, Greg Joseph. I hate to say it, but I don't know that we can.
I was going to save him for last. Great game ball. I kind of agree with what I heard my friend Tony Rizzo said today. Gotta let you go. Don't know if it's going to work out. I mean, that field goal was pretty shaky.
It was what
nice.
I couldn't get I still haven't looked over it again. Was there a good hand on it, or was it a lame duck from the kick?
Ready for this? This kind of represents everything. There's disputing reports. I'm hearing some thinks that they did, some that done. Who cares? It was a bad kick. Let's be fair. It didn't work out.
He had plenty of leg on the long one. That was wide left, I think.
Well,
right?
yeah, maybe you just could have almost like a Nintendo game, kick all the way over to the right, maybe it'll sail to the left and go in. I mean, the kicking game. Actually, I was going to bring this up. I would actually call the Colts, the Niners. I think the Niners are maybe the Cardinals. Who has right now Dawson? I forget.
There's rumors, and because everyone's saying he'd love to come back to Cleveland.
I would offer a 4th or 5th round pick and be like, what do we got to do? I mean, it's time.
I think that I feel comfortable offering picks because I am comfortable with who we have making the picks at this point.
Yes.
Talk about something else. I mean, that we can mention real quick is that John Dorsey has nailed.
I agree.
The personnel. He has just nailed it with.
Yeah, if you want to rank Browns, it goes 1 Baker, 2 Denzel Ward, 3 Dorsey. Dorsey's 3.
Absolutely.
And that's impressive for a GM. I mean, that's impressive for a GM.
Right?
But he's 3. He's definitely 3. I mean, if you want to rank your top 3 popular Browns, I would argue it's one Baker, 2 Denzel, and I can't believe I'm saying this, it's probably 3 Dorsey than for Myles Garrett.
We've seen how the impact that guys like him can make when we look at the Cavaliers a couple of years ago, right?
No, there's no doubt. I mean, again, there's energy in these games. Again, it felt good to do that against not the Jets but the Ravens. That's where I just couldn't get over. I'm like, this is not just a pity poo Thursday night game. The team's playing 3 games in 11 days. And no, this was a real legit matchup.
Yep.
A team that came off a big road win against the Steelers. This was a hand-stamped game, and I thought Hugh needed it. I really did. So I think the state of Hugh, the seat is cold. Could warm up at any minute. So he needs to keep that going. Chargers are not easy, and after that they got back-to-back games against the Bucs and the Steelers on the road. So again, the Browns, we're seeing moves. I agree with you about the kicker. Got to change that. The defense just keeps, again, aside from that one Ravens game, they really have. I mean, the Raiders game from 2 weeks ago. The defense has really been stout. Denzel Ward's a star, absolute star. Just can't. I really wanted to mention him first. I'm in awe of him. He's really, really good. And again, Mayfield did enough to get the team victory. Hyde is definitely our lead back. Good to see Duke Johnson. I think it's all about rotation thing. There's nothing wrong with Chubb. Chubb just didn't get the carries this week. That's just how it's going to work, and that's okay. The only thing with this team that I see on offense, outside of offensive line issues here and there, which I won't get into today, I don't think it's fair. These drop passes. These drop passes have got to stop. They're better than they were last week, but they're not. You can stand 2 or 3 a game. Boy, the Browns drop passes.
Even the Willie's catch, he fumbled out of bounds.
I saw that too.
And that that was big time. We needed that was a huge reception. But you're lucky because I'm pretty sure he was carrying that ball on the inside, into the field too. He should have switched arms, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, on that catch as well.
Yeah, so I would say those are things to keep your eye on.
Oh, and EJ Gaines held his own. Before I forget about that too. So that was good. I was a little nervous about the secondary.
No, he played well. I mean, again, the defense did. I mean, you can't really complain about the defense really a whole lot. Special teams is better. I agree with you, but we all agree about the kicker. I would actually sought out to make a trade. I think you're at that point. If you really want to make a push and get people excited, you can't get anything off the waiver wire. If you do, I almost consider you might want to stick with Joseph at this point, which is nerve-wracking, but okay, it is what it is. And then, like I said, play calling, I don't want to do that today. Flip passes by the 10-yard line, and that's on Haley. Boy, it can't happen. And again, they got away with it. But these are little things to watch. But I will say, again, they probably heard our podcast. They were running the ball a lot, and I love that. I just think that is such a smart thing for this team.
How did you think the Browns defense did adjusting to when the Ravens would turn to Lamar Jackson? Because I thought well, there was the first time they brought him in, I believe that there was some confusion on the field and they had to call timeout, so that ruined it. I guess I'm curious as to the future of, and I know this is, going down a different path, but how much more of facing Flacco do you think we're even going to have over the next few years?
I think he'll be around for a while, actually.
Really?
I
longer than Ben's going to be in Pittsburgh?
Yeah. I think Ben's on his last legs. I know they beat the Falcons.
Everyone does.
Which we'll get to in a second, but no, I think Flacco play. I mean, there's 2 quarterbacks I don't know if I understand the hate, and Flacco and Eli Manning. I don't understand the hate. All those guys do. I mean, I think they lead their teams or get their teams close to victory every time.
Yeah.
Flacco and Eli Manning, I never understood the hate, and I hear a lot of gripes from people about both.
And Crabtree and John Brown and Willie Snead all had decent games as well. He's got people to throw to. Crabtree is his guy. It looks like, and so. But
again, the Browns played well. That's the thing that's ironic. See, Jared.
Oh yeah.
They actually played well enough to win. That's what was so great. Like, they affected how Flacco played. But with Lamar Jackson, the only thing I'll say about this is I don't watch the Ravens enough. I got to see more of this. I didn't think any of it looked smooth, but again, I don't know if that was
my take.
I don't know. Again, it's not fair for me to say, as I heard the announcers were saying that in other games it worked well. I just can't. If everybody wants to know my kryptonite, I can't watch the Bulls and I can't watch the Ravens. I just can't watch these teams.
Ratbirds.
So whenever the Ravens play, I just cannot watch them. Mm-hmm. So that's how I'll leave it there. But a good win. See if they can follow up with a good win again, because I think after that, you and I kind of alluded to it. After the Charger game is obviously not easy.
Mm-hmm.
On the road at Tampa Bay, which anytime it's on the road with the Browns right now, because they're still learning how to win, that's a tough game.
Yep.
At Pittsburgh, never easy. Then they come back to play the Chefs. So that's a very tough stretch for the Browns coming up here.
There is no quit in Mahomes. He is on fire still.
Let's go there next. I mean, Chiefs is what I like to say or joke around, the Chefs. Chiefs, Rams. It's early.
Some people don't remember that commercial years ago, Andy.
I know. I love that commercial.
Google it.
Spin the magazine. Spin the magazine,
Great.
right?
Googly.
Googly. KC Chiefs, LA Rams. I watched. I did not watch a lot of the Jaguar game because the Browns game, but when it went in overtime, I watched the Chiefs game, and I watched a good portion of the Rams Seahawks. These two teams are so good. I mean, it's early, and we've all been known to do this. Call back in December and see where they're at. But Those two teams have really pulled away. It's the best two teams in the league, and for both sides, to me, right now, by far and away. And I'll tell you this: they're fast, they're energetic, and they're fun to watch. I love watching both these teams play.
Go back to the division real quick. The Bengals had a nice comeback too.
Gutting it out. They're doing well. The Falcons, I don't want to spend too much time on this. I think as the weeks go on, Dan Quinn's going to start getting hotter and hotter and hotter in that firing seat. 1-4 is not going to cut it with this team. I don't know how much longer it's going to last.
Right.
Steelers survived. Now the Browns and Steelers are tied for third place in the division. But I thought the bigger story there, I mean, we all hate the Steelers, so why even glorify that one? Let's go right back, though, to the Falcons for a second. That is a team I think time starts circling on the radar of how this season's going to go, because it's now 1-4. They've had 3 home games.
Yeah.
I don't know how much longer it's going to really last with Dan Quinn as a seat there. So I think that's an interesting one to watch. A lot of people have been talking here locally about the Giants because they lost on a 63-yard field goal. For people who haven't seen it, I would definitely take a look. That was an amazing kick. The Giants are just snake bitten right now. They just can't get it again. And by the way, our old good buddy Pat Shurmur 1-4.
Right.
Same old for us. I was not a big Pat Shurmur guy. I don't know how you felt about him. Nice guy, but just
indifferent. Same. I mean, I just didn't. Same thing with Mike Pettin.
Yeah, I agreed. The other things that really stood out to me again, that we kind of circled with the Bengals, Ravens, and Steelers. We're in one of the better divisions in football again. And how ironic when the Browns become good. The teams all around us are just as good. I don't think that's ironic. I think the Browns play in a really tough division. So something we should keep in mind that I thought was going to happen, and it kind of has. These teams around us, it's only going to make us better for the future, but it's going to make getting in the playoffs hard. It's going to make it really challenging because the teams around us are that good.
I'm really looking forward to seeing how they look against, with the Bengals. I am.
I'm interested to see if they can ever win a road game against Pitt, Cincy, or Baltimore. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Right now, do you think they could win a road game against any one of those 3 teams right now?
I honestly do. The big word that they talked about on Sunday was finish. I mean, that was the only thing they cared about throughout. If they can continue that theme onto the road. I mean, I told you earlier, I thought that they'd be able to split the series. This is before I saw how talented they could be. They easily could split the series with any of these division teams, and if you could take 2 from one of them, that would be beautiful. I think that they have that ability. But yes, I get it, on the road, and these are not easy places to play, right, ever. Even when those teams aren't good, they're not easy places to play.
I just would say this. I think that's going to be the biggest key if the Browns really make a playoff push. I've heard that a little bit more today.
Yeah.
I would actually put in those terms. Can you see the Browns winning in Cincy, Pittsburgh, or Baltimore?
I think I could.
Well, I think I could too with the Ravens.
Really? They've done it in Pittsburgh. I mean, they don't get a lot of wins against Pittsburgh, but they've beaten Pittsburgh a few times in Pittsburgh over the past years with those very few wins that they've gotten.
I just would say this about a team like Pittsburgh. That's such an intense rivalry, and we did tie with them, and that's going to irk them. I think that's going to be a tough game for the Browns to win. But I think you're right. I just think in Cincy or in Baltimore or in Pittsburgh, I think that's – if people want to know, that's my litmus test for this team. Are they going to – because they're going to – in my opinion, they have to win one of those games on the road in their division. They have to. And maybe it's the last week. Maybe it's the Pittsburgh game. I don't know. But I think they have to. I think right now I'd say the answer is I think so. But I don't know yet. I don't know. I don't feel 100% about it for sure. The last thing, too, everybody has a win now in the NFL. The Cardinals won, so there will be no more drama, no more countdowns to the Lions or, last year for our Brownies. Everybody's got to win this year. The Cardinals got to win, so no more winless teams in the NFL. Everybody's got to win this year. And then we usually do – I try to do longer, but I'm not going to this week. The college footballs, it kind of came and went with everything that was going on with the Indians this weekend. Notre Dame and Ohio State, I'll do quickly on the Irish. That game played exactly as I thought it would at times. Virginia Tech came out. They were emotional. Irish got a quick lead. Virginia Tech fought, but they just don't have the muscle, the playmakers to give enough for the Irish to give them trouble. Irish had a big run, and Dexter Williams again really took over in the second half. Notre Dame won. I did keep my eye on the Ohio State game.
Yeah, it was background noise to me.
Ohio State football.
But what I did, because it was basically it was almost same start time on Saturday as the Indians game, so I had it running on my laptop. And what I saw was an Indiana team that was not afraid to throw downfield, and they had big plays, and they hung with Ohio State through the first half and made it interesting even into the third. So Ohio State offensively, I think, struggled in that first half as well. I don't know. Is there anything to take from that? I mean, Indiana came in 4-1, I believe, too. But I mean, who did they play?
I think in sports you get teams like this that give you fits. Yeah. And I think the Indiana's been that team. They've been this team the last couple of years, so it isn't like it's new. Yeah. The only thing I would say that I would keep my eye on is the Ohio State rushing game has really not been fluent the last couple of weeks now. It really wasn't fluid against Penn State. It wasn't fluid against Indiana. Part of it is they're making Haskins throw, and Haskins doing that. Mm-hmm. That's the only thing I would keep my eye on. Can they get that running game going? But that's nitpicky. I think other than that, everything's a wash. Ohio State just didn't look like to be in that game at times. Even Haskins threw a couple balls up there. It's like, what was that? That didn't even look like. I mean, one was just a flutter. Mm-hmm. So I think those are kind of things you can kind of take away. It's Indiana, that kind of stuff. Don't weigh too much into it. The bigger picture maybe for the Big Ten is Michigan State lost. Boy, you don't take Northwestern seriously, that's what happens. I've learned that about Fitzgerald and that team. When you don't take them seriously, you lose. Michigan State didn't take them seriously, and they lost. That was a big loss. I actually think for the Big Ten in a way, because that really damages Michigan State again. Mm-hmm. By the way, for the Irish fans who didn't stay up late, Utah beat Stanford. That's another dinging loss to the resume for Notre Dame. You should talk about that stuff for the playoffs. So both teams really took a hit in the resume department. So I think it was better for Michigan State to keep winning, and same for Stanford. Both teams lost, so it really does not help out the Bucs or the Irish in the long run. Great win for Texas. They finally look like they're back and established. I didn't get to watch much of this game because I was at my son's soccer tournament. Yep. But from what I saw and everything else, that was a good win, and that's the first time I'll stamp Tom Herman and be like, that's a great win. That's the win he needed. A really good job for Texas in that spot. And Oklahoma's a good team, so that's a big win for them. They actually fired a defensive coordinator. Tell you how much those games would mean down there in Dallas. And finally, I doubted them, but Florida's got defense, and they beat my Cinderella LSU. I shouldn't say Cinderella, but my pseudo favorite team this year, LSU. I did watch this game. I was flipping back and forth between other things. Florida's defense is underrated. They played really well in this game. They were the difference. LSU just made too many turnovers, threw too many picks. And Florida, for people, again, I know people don't want to talk about this. That actually helps in the grander scheme of things, because now Georgia has to play LSU next week, and then they have to follow that up shortly to play Florida. So Georgia now has two tough tests coming up that should open up another spot. And with LSU losing, Notre Dame moves up to the spot. So now, Jared, we're getting closer to getting Notre Dame and Ohio State if they went out into the playoffs. These teams losing are helping the Irish and the Buckeyes a lot. Also, too, Oklahoma losing helps. So I think that knocks out them. So I think now Ohio State, here's my final thought.
Yeah.
I think now Ohio State's getting closer to, I can say, I think Ohio State might be able to lose a game and get in. It didn't feel that way.
It is getting that way, but I don't know how long that stays a possibility the deeper into the season that we get to. If they are going to lose it, it's got to be like I don't want to see them losing to Minnesota this week. I'll tell you that much.
By the way, I'll be teeing this up. They play the Boilermakers on Saturday night now on ABC, so that'll be interesting. That means nothing, by the way. I'm sure Ohio State still. I'm a big Purdue fan. I'm sure they'll still steamroll the Boilers.
Hey,
but
how about this one though? And correct me if I'm wrong, but has Pitt been scrutinized over the past few years with their coaching and the way that they play, and a lot of Pennsylvanians not happy with that program, yet they seem to be able to win games like they did, surprising Syracuse this weekend. Right. I mean, that was unexpected, I think, for everyone, correct? And they do it every once in a while, which I think is what that program hangs their hat on, is look at us, we can win a big game every now and again. But besides that, Pitt has been, non-existent in the football world.
Here's what I would say. Pitt does that. They beat Miami last year. Yep. They have these kind of wins in there. That's a typical Syracuse letdown. They're still a very good team. That's still going to be a challenging game for the Irish. But, yeah, and that's what's great about sports. And, I mean, you can have those kind of games. And that's why I thought Indiana giving Ohio State a game, Notre Dame getting a game from Virginia Tech isn't the end of the world. Because there was a lot, they had big wins. I mean, the Notre Dame, Ohio State wins from the week before were big. Mm. And same with Syracuse. Even in a letdown, you have letdown losses too. They lost at Clemson. Who do you play next week? At Pitt. It's not a sex
hangover game.
Totally hangover game, and those things do happen. Last few things. We'll get into more about college football next week. I'm just too funeraled out about the Tribe today to get into much more excitement. Good to see the Brewers win. People should check out the videos of Euchre online. I am definitely going to be a soft Brewers fan throughout the
No, I'm with you. Some of the videos of him, having beer poured on him it's Bob's very much a part of that organization.
Agreed. I will definitely be having the Major League shirt on and cheering for them hard. They will host the Dodgers next week. Dodgers really flexed their muscles too much today for the Braves, so they move on. Red Sox, Yankees, we'll do more on this because they're playing right now. Good series so far, and actually. Watching the kind of hammer home our final points here. After watching what I saw, now knowing what we know, I mean, Jared, I will conclude, even if the Astros, I don't know, a meteor hits and then the Indians win that series, I don't know if they would be in the Red Sox or Yankees, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Not knowing what I know. I mean, it just stinks to say, and I guess that's the final line. In the past few years, in the AL, it's been Red Sox, Yankees, Indians, Astros. Next year, and it's going to be Red Sox, Yankees, and Astros.
It is such a strange parallel to both. It's almost like there's some strange cognitive dissonance going on with, the Indians are good enough to win the Central again next year, but you have no idea what that team's going to look like or how they're going to operate through the next 162 games and what that's going to play out like. Like, I don't.
We went through it in the last podcast. That division's terrible. They fired Molitor between now and then. So
that conversation goes right back to the same thing. October. That's it.
Most disappointing person in the Indian series was?
Oh boy. I don't know. Can I have two?
I'll let you think.
I've got one.
My answer.
Yeah, go ahead.
Corey Kluber, because I thought it set the tone for the series. I thought he had a chance to redeem what he did in 16. So I'll go Corey Kluber.
This is going to be a personal disappointment because I was hoping this person would come in and give that electricity and help with that identity that I felt was lacking. And it's Donaldson.
Yeah.
I just thought what we did to get him, and which was even questionable to some. I know the Yankees and Red Sox were complaining about it because of the whole injury thing. But to get him on the team, to know that he was healthy, and to have that bat, and just it was like fool's gold for me, is what it was. It was fool's gold.
I wrote in my notes, I should have brought up, we did not get the Jay Bruce effect this year from Donaldson.
No.
We did not get that, and that certainly played out. If you had to keep one of these guys, Miller, Allen, or Brantley, would you keep any of them, or would you say sayonara?
Ooh, well, it's between Miller and Brantley for me. I think I'm ready to say goodbye to Cody Allen. Thank you. You know, you've been a great help.
Great help.
But you know, you've been too. To me, he never has been able to get out of the whole. Oh my gosh! Now I'm losing my mind. Oh my, Andy, you're gonna kill me.
Well, I'll tell you what. As you debate and remember what your thought was, I think the interesting thing for the Indians, I would actually say, love you, Miller. Again, Miller time in 16 will have a special place in my heart. I'm going to try to buy a T-shirt. Cody Allen could not have gotten to the World Series without you. You know, Kluber, Miller, and Allen could not have gotten there without. They championed this team to the World Series.
Yeah.
Championed this team to the World Series in 16.
Right.
Brantley, to me, would be the one guy I would try to bring back because they have two huge holes in left and in right if they don't have Brantley.
Yeah. Well, the only reason I would bring back Miller is because I feel like he's still fixable. But you know what? Again, we're going to go right back to Brantley being healthy. And do you really want to lose a bat when you've already when bats are already an issue? I think my issue with Cody Allen is, and some people won't agree with me, is that Cody Allen, to me, at too many times in his time with the Indians, as much as he has been a hero, and this is the same thing for Jose Mesa, that they're almost cut from the same cloth in regard to times where you want to hug them and times where you want to strangle them. And it's that simple.
Here's another question. How big is Bradley Zimmer's year going to be? Because you're either going to have Allen or Zimmer playing center. And I don't think you're going to have Brantley, so I don't even think it matters my questions. I don't think you're going to have any of those three.
So then what are you going to do? Are you going to move Zimmer to left?
This is going to be the most biggest. I think the Indians outfield, who I'm teeing up to fans, is going to be the most interesting thing outside of, again, I think they need to either get one big reliever or an ace. I would actually lean towards getting an ace. They need to get something with some muscle in that starting rotation. I think they need one more guy to really push that team over. But going back to a second to the outfield, you know, if you let Brantley go, is it going to be the Chisenhall, Geyer, Tyler Naquin?
And that's the thing though too. We know Lonnie. Like,
I know.
What are we getting with Lonnie? We're not getting not getting anything more than what we with Lonnie.
I wanted to tee this question up because people are like, goodbye Brantley. It's like, wow, goodbye Brantley, question mark. I mean, it's a big hole. I would try to sign him if you can. I don't think they will, but I'm just telling you that outfield without Brantley, folks, it looks really thin on paper.
Speaking of leadership roles, though, with him being back and healthy, was he just trying to find his way? I mean, he had a solid year, but he was quietly solid.
I thought Brantley was Brantley. I actually thought he had decent at bats. Jose hit a lot of fly balls, but Donaldson was really bad. You really think about it, kind of what you're alluding to. Donaldson, and then honestly, outside of one hit, Kipnis struck out a lot too. Yeah. And I love Kipnis. I love his attitude. I love his enthusiasm for the city. But Kipnis really had a lot of strikeouts in the series, and that's what really stood out to me.
Bad strikeouts. Strikeouts looking at times. There were, it was not good.
But I wanted to ask those questions. I think that are going to be the interesting things looming. As I'm hearing everybody like, well, goodbye Brantley, goodbye Miller, goodbye Allen.
Oh, but you know how it is though with Cleveland fans. They're all jumping off the cliff at this point. I think. On social media they want to blow it all up. They want to fire Terry Francona. Take a nap.
We're the House of Reason. That's why I wanted to do this at the end. I'm the House of Reason. Don't get rid of Brantley as fast as you want. I get Allen and Miller. I get that. I actually would be safely saying, thank you for everything and take care.
Yeah.
Brantley, I would really hold on to and think about for a second before you say that. Can't get rid of Terry. Got to have Kluber on your staff. Got to have Bauer on your staff. But not for today, but the bigger question, when the Indians, and if they do, and they should, make the playoffs again, who is going to get that game one ace start for the Indians? I don't know. And that's weird to say. I don't know.
And I don't even know where to begin to look.
Bieber, Clevenger, Kraska, you got a pretty good staff. It's just interesting. I just think these are the things that are really going to have to be debated, and I'm sure they already are, with Francona and, Chernoff and Antonetti and those guys. What do you do? Because I'm a big believer. You have to have at least an ace or someone to lean on in these playoffs. You have to. And again, looking at Kluber last year and this year, is that the guy? I don't know. It leads to a lot of questions, and it closes the book on 16. And they finally did. They closed 2016. It's going to be a flushing experience right now, but it'll be a cleanse by the end. Meaning, I think we needed this to happen.
Yeah.
It's time to move on.
Absolutely.
It wasn't fluky what happened to the Yankees.
It's you don't want to call it. I like the word cleanse. I like the way that you're looking at that. You're going to make your choices. It's not a complete start over. You're not blowing anything up. And I don't even want to call it a retooling, because it is definitely going to be more significant than a retooling. Because there's a lot of purpose behind these decisions that are coming.
They have some very interesting decisions. Yeah. That's how I believe it, because I think Yandy Diaz is turning into a star. I thought Naquin, before he got hurt, I know he had his moments, but I think Naquin played better this year. And, we haven't even alluded to it, but they have all these injuries. But anyways, this is the first time since 15-16, a lot of interesting decisions coming forth for the Indians. Not just cool one big-time signings. The Indians actually have to make some real decisions here on what to do going forward. And, that's what makes sports great. You got to turn the page quickly, and the Indians are going to have to do that. So I guess that's my final thought. It closes 16. That is now over and done. And, there's going to be a new Indians. I think you're going to see a lot more Lindor on faces and stuff already than he is now. And I think you're going to have, time will tell really who's going to be, again, who are you giving the ball to in a big spot? I don't know. We obviously don't know that answer now, but hopefully that answer will be coming around sometime in 19.
Boy,
need it.
We just gave everyone a nice S sandwich with the Indians, starting off with them and ending with it.
Okay, last question. What is your final image of this year, Jared? What is your final image of this team? Final image. What are you really going to remember in 2018? With the Indians?
Mm-hmm. I'd like to think of. There's a couple things I'd like to think of, but the image is going to be Bauer coming out of the pen and that not working.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing about the Indians in this image is I don't know if I have one. 2018 was a strange year. It wasn't a bad year, but it was a blur. I would actually paint it gray.
Yeah,
they really had a moment this year or two. It was a good year, a great year. I was in every game. But let's be honest, it was a strange year.
It was a team that, for some reason, it's like they drew a crowd better than they had in previous years a little bit, right? I mean, they were drawing a little bit more of a crowd with a team that wasn't as exciting as it was in 16. I couldn't understand how the seats weren't full in 16. And this year I felt like they were going through the motions. They were. You wanted to think they were figuring things out because of the injuries and because of the outfield and the issues that they had with the bullpen. That was all a part of it. But really, you're right on it goes back to what I said earlier, that lack of identity. There was a lack of identity.
Shades of gray. Going to our next podcast, the Yankees are getting pounded right now by the Red Sox. So we'll talk about that more. Chargers, Browns. We'll get into a little bit of Ohio State, Minnesota. The Irish actually play our favorite team we just mentioned, Pitt. So we'll talk about that a little bit, and then we'll lead us off into the weekend. But sadly, as you just heard, there will be no Tribe. So better days ahead.
Absolutely.
I think it's time for a good nap.
That's exactly what it is. I'm going to sleep on it and hope for a better Tuesday.
Yes.
And so by the time anyone hears this in podcast form, hopefully their Tuesday or Wednesday's already going well. And we're looking forward to another Browns win on the road to really show that this team can put all the pieces together, I guess.
It's already the lead headline on MLB.com. The impending Tribe free agency. Reflect on tenure.
Wow, that's quick.
That's a perfect. Again, 2016 is not closed. What does 2019 look like? We'll see. It'll be interesting.
He's Andy Billman. I'm Jared Watson. This is Cleveland and Beyond. Thanks for tuning in. Take care, everybody. Hey, don't forget to follow Andy and Jared Cleveland and Beyond on Facebook at facebook.com/Cleveland and Beyond and on Twitter at CLE and Beyond. That's at CLE and Beyond. On Twitter, you can also shoot us an email, andyandjared@gmail.com. Looking forward to hearing your comments.